Well, well, well. What do we have here? Seems to me like the Miami Hurricanes are one game away from being back in national title talks. 20 years in the making. 20 plus, if you really want to get down to it. What's up? I've been raving about the Hurricanes in the last two episodes that I've done, and so far, they've been able to back it up in every way, shape, and form. And now the CFP committee looks like they're right in putting Miami in the college football playoffs. What's up, everyone? As you know, this is the Clemmontime podcast. I am Tyler Clemens, and we are going to have a 20-minute episode about. We are 50 or so minutes away from kickoff. I've paused this college game day several times so I didn't miss anything, but that's what the timer has on it currently. I know that is not accurate. I actually got 45 minutes because I put a timer on my watch to keep an eye on things as we got some food to grill. Anyways, let's get to it. Second round of the college football playoffs, Miami took on Ohio State. And let me tell you, Ohio State was a 7.5 favorite to close, 9.5 to start. Want to talk about how the hell do you get to that? And then absolutely get manhandled. Defending champs get absolutely manhandled. Miami Hurricanes have 12 sacks in the last two playoff games. Ole Miss has only given up 2 sacks in the playoffs. This front four for the Miami Hurricanes have been absolutely dominant to the point mobile quarterbacks have not been able to make plays. The Hurricanes faced Marcel Reed. Now they're going to be facing Trinidad Chambliss. You got to get pressure, contain him in the pocket. Exactly what they did to Marcel Reed. You're going to put the spy on him. Keontae Scott, dog. Absolutely dog mentality from this man. Reading plays, watching film, acting on what you see on film. That's elite football on the defensive side. Corey Heatherman has this Hurricanes defense on another level. Absolutely intense, violent aggression from the Miami Hurricanes defense. It's going to have to continue as well if that's what they want to be as national champions. Ohio State, I thought exactly that. Yeah, Jeremiah Smith had a great game. 157 yards, I believe, on 6 or 7 catches, maybe 8 catches. He's the only guy that beat us. That was it. Everything else, non-factor. Getting after Julian Sainz, sacking him 5 times, and Marcel Reed 7 times. Absolute dominance by the Miami Hurricanes. And how many teams can say that? Honestly. How many teams can say they have been absolutely dominating their teams in the playoffs? And you're probably going to say, well, the Hurricanes only beat Texas A&M by 7 points. It was 10-3. Okay. They blocked field goals, sacked him 7 times, gave up 3 points. And as far as I'm concerned, Texas A&M's defense was a little bit better than Miami's stats-wise. Didn't show in that game. This Hurricanes team has gotten to another level. I was crucial on him as a fan, as Mario Cristobal being a terrible game manager. So far, these games have been really easy to manage for him, and that's just because they have dominated both sides of the ball since that SMU loss. Plain and simple. Since the SMU loss, the Miami Hurricanes have changed everything about them, and it just have been completely dominant. Completely. I expect that to continue versus Ole Miss. I'm not even looking at the spreads this week. I'm just picking the two teams that I expect to win. One of them's the Miami Hurricanes, and I just have to say it. This Hurricanes football team, it's taken 4 years. I knew as a fan, and some are not very patient in this aspect. I knew Cristobal needed time to get his recruits in there. The people he wants, the players he wants to build the team. And that's what he's done. If people want to think about this, and they may be like, oh, duh. But if you haven't thought about this, Mario Cristobal was the offensive line coach for Alabama. All these top recruits, all these top running backs coming out of Alabama, they're typically running backs and linemen and linebackers. He builds the trenches. He builds the trenches to just dominate teams up front. To dominate. And that is running the ball, controlling the clock. Maybe that's why Cristobal wasn't a great game manager in the regular season for some of those games. There's 2 losses. He wasn't very good. But if you're able to play to the play style that Cristobal wants to play at, and that is being dominant up front, physically controlling the other team, and winning in the trenches, because ultimately that's where it all starts. If you can't pass block, you can't throw. If you can't run block, you're not going to be able to run the ball. You're not going to be able to control the clock, control the game. But if you build the trenches, you're able to do that, and you have depth. That's the thing. The Hurricanes have depth. It's just not these guys and somebody gets hurt. No. There's guys coming. There's guys on the bench ready to go. And that's the thing about this team. It is deep. Yes, there's some guys that enter the transfer portal, but it's not the guys that are surprising you that they enter the transfer portal. These are guys that are probably deep on this football team. I don't go too deep into the 90-man roster, whatever it is, mainly because now there's so many more players, and some of them you don't see, some of them dress, some of them don't. It's a whole different thing. I believe a different amount of players travel on away games than they do home. I believe just about everybody dresses out on home games. For the most part, away games they don't. They limit it for travel. At least when I was in college, they did. But for the Hurricanes to win this game against Ole Miss, it's going to be in the trenches, of course. I've heard the Ole Miss head coach talking about what he's going to do to confuse Carson Beck, get after him, show him different looks. He's going to change the looks all the time. Nothing's ever going to look the same. Now, in my theory, that is really good. That will really, really confuse young freshman quarterbacks, sophomores, maybe ones that just haven't played a lot. In my opinion, I don't think he's going to confuse Carson too much. I think he's going to do a good job in putting him in the right situation, and he's going to make the right throws. Mainly because if the running game's going, you're not going to be disguising shit. You're just going to be saying, we need to stop the fucking run. Okay? Plain and simple. If you are getting the ball ran down your throat, you are going to start selling out to stop the run. And right now, the way the Hurricanes offense is rolling, you want to go stop the run, you're going to find out the hard way that Shannon Dawson's got a few tricks in his back pocket. The touchdown the Miami Hurricanes had with Mark Fletcher in their pass reception, they set up in a formation that said, all right, we're going to line up and out physical you. And of course, the other side of the ball got real macho man and said, all right, well, we're going to line up too. We're going to stop you. And guess what? Carson takes one step. They collapse a little bit, just enough. Fletcher out of the backfield, untouched. Passing touchdown to him. He was the only man in the route. Only man. And you didn't even account for him. That's how caught up in the run game they are trying to stop it. And if the Hurricanes can run the ball, if Trinidad Chambliss cannot keep plays alive, because that's ultimately going to be it. If he can't get the ball out quick, and I expect a lot of crossers, I expect a lot of underneath stuff to get the ball out of their hands quick, because Louisville gave us that little bit of a problem when they beat us, having these jet sweeps. They're going to try to get the ball side to side. Ole Miss has a really good running back. He's got like 23 rushing touchdowns on the season. It's going to be a very physical and strategic game. Ole Miss Chambliss is going to have to be the superstar if they want to win, plain and simple, in my opinion. And if he can't do that, I think the Miami Hurricanes are going to be going to a national championship. And the team they're going to be facing, probably Indiana, in my opinion. So Indiana and Oregon are facing off tomorrow night. I'm going to go ahead and make the pick for that. I'm going to talk a little bit about it as well. So Indiana, they have rode the top of the mountain all year. Absolutely all year, they have been the number one team in my opinion. They had to play Ohio State and beat them to be number one. But in my opinion, they proved it, and the Hurricanes proved that Ohio State was not the number one team in the country. Plain and simple. Indiana is the real deal. And just like Mario Cristobal did building in the trenches, Cignetti has been doing it the same way as well. They've got the running game going, and Mendoza, just like Carson Beck, these guys get in the right situations and they know where to go with the football. That's all it is. It's a lot of experience out there. These guys have played a lot of football. Okay, Carson Beck just eclipsed 11,000 yards career passing. I know Mendoza's not up there like that, but he's probably closing in on 10,000 if I'm not mistaken. And more than likely, Mendoza's going to be the number one pick in the draft. Number one pick. Now, we know Indiana is a high-powered offense, like absolutely high-powered, and they dominated Alabama last week. Alabama, somehow, some way, made it to where they were, but they shouldn't have. I think the loss in the SEC championship to Georgia should have bumped them out. And that's where I think you could have had Notre Dame or BYU in those spots. But that didn't happen. So, the committee, for the 12 teams that made it, I think maybe you're like 75% right. I think Tulane and JMU shouldn't have been in this, and maybe Alabama shouldn't have been in this. 9 of 12 were right. I thought Miami should have been in it, and they have proven that they should have been in it. So, can't argue that. Absolutely can't argue that, because Georgia was expected to be here. Yeah, I'm stuttering on purpose. Georgia was supposed to be there. Ohio State was supposed to be there, not Miami. That was a 10-point spread at one point for Miami, and they beat Ohio State by 10. Texas Tech absolutely shut out to Oregon. I just... You don't know what happened to Texas Tech. I have no idea what happened to them. Being the top 10 team that they were all year and just not putting up points in a college football playoff game. I mean, you deserve to be there. You beat BYU, but maybe you shouldn't have been ranked as high as you were. You know, in the end, it doesn't matter. They were 4, Oregon was 5, so I mean, maybe you flip flopped in, but you still play each other regardless. Indiana and this Oregon game is going to be electric. It's going to be a tight game. I don't know if it's going to be high scoring. I feel like I want it to be. I feel like it has the potential, but then I feel like it's going to be a physical game, and high powered offenses are going to struggle just a little bit. I think you're still going to have that 20 to 10, 24-14 kind of vibe, kind of like the Miami Ohio State game, but lots of possessions because they go a little faster than most teams do. Miami's control the clock. Indiana is a little bit high powered. We need to try to run a lot of plays, take advantage of what's out there on the field when we know we can get them in a certain look. Oregon's defense with Dan Lanning, I think Dan Lanning does a great job. I think anywhere he goes, he's always going to have a great defense. I think his quarterback is the only thing, but people really like Dante Moore. They absolutely love him. He's one of the top rated quarterbacks coming out if he does, because he can stay another year with no problem. Not like Trinidad, where he's applying for one more year of eligibility for his medical red shirt. I believe they already had a third filing. So let's just say college football is absolutely fantastic. It has been a great year. Could be the last game for the Miami Hurricanes. If it is, I'm going to do the last episode still for the national championship. But if it's not, I'm going to do it regardless. But it's going to be so much better if I'm talking about the Miami Hurricanes in the national championship. And it's going to just be so much better for college football if the Hurricanes are in the national championship. Ole Miss has never been there. They don't have a national championship. Oregon's been there. They haven't won. Miami versus Oregon, Miami versus Indiana sounds more likely. I can't even think about Ole Miss in the national championship just because Hurricanes are my team. But I feel our two teams in the national championship could be the Miami Hurricanes versus Indiana. And it would be absolutely electric because it's in Hard Rock Stadium. This is going to be like the Buccaneers. When Tom Brady gets there his first year, they go to the Super Bowl and they win, and it's all in Tampa. College football is a little different, though. College football is a little different. And Miami fans are a little different. Let's just be honest. They're a little different. If you watch Miami Heat games, you watch Dolphins games, Hurricanes games, and you go to these games, people roll in late first quarter, early second sometimes second half. Hey, sometimes they leave early because Dolphins typically suck. But Miami Heat games, if you're looking at the fans, they're not piling in until midway through the first, start of the second. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. I am a sports fan. I go to watch the game, and I'm going to let you know my team is playing by the memorabilia that I'll have on my chest, apparel, whatever you want to call it, hat. I am repping my team, and I'm a diehard for them. Like, I am going to be standing up this entire game on my feet, and I'm going to be jumping up and down when plays are happening. And I'm going to be mad when shit plays happen to the Hurricanes, you know? I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be cuss out the refs. I'm going to do everything a diehard fan's that you expect them to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and this is right at about 20 minutes. So I did a really good job. I only looked over a couple times at it. Other times I just wanted to make sure that it was recording. But man, I hope everybody had a great Christmas, an amazing New Year. You know, it's we're 8 days into the new year, and it's been fun. You know, I've been doing this podcast thing now since the beginning of the NFL season. Just started doing the college football, and it's been fun. I really enjoyed doing it, and I'm gonna try to put out more content. I'm going to break down these teams. The next episode I actually post is probably going to be talking about the teams in the NFL that have head coach vacancies. Going to do my picks over the last 2 weeks that I just haven't done because they've just been weird games and been really hard to be interested in them, to be honest with you, since most outcomes have been known. But this is all playoff games coming up. They all mean something. They're win or go home. The intensity rises. And in college football, it's like nothing else. This is the second year of the 12-team college playoffs. Miami's first year in the playoffs. This will be fun. Well, I'm going to close this one out. You guys know exactly what to do. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Give me all the love that you can. I'm just trying to build this up. I'd love to leave my job one day and make this my everyday income. Okay? So, I appreciate it. Go Canes. I'm out.